Hey guys, Ryder here. This vid is a bit late because, truthfully, I didn't think I was going to make a video about this. But screw it, I'll throw my hat into the ring. So yesterday, we got the direct for DK Bananza, and let's just say that my expectations for it were not super high, given what the Mario Kart World Direct did, even if that was more or less what I was expecting from that direct. And well, if that were the case, I would not be making this video right now. Call it recency bias, but this was one of, if not the best direct for a single game that I have ever seen. I wasn't going to get this game ASAP initially, but what I saw there completely sold me on this game, at least when I get my Switch 2, because I am a shill. But with that aside, let's talk about the contents of the direct. So firstly, just as a general thought, the pacing of this direct was really good. I can't really remember a part of the direct that seriously dragged. I think each aspect got as much time as it needed to, other than maybe the part about explaining DK's moveset could have been a little bit shorter, but it wasn't a big issue for me. Which again, for example, was not something I could say about the Mario Kart World Direct, in which it felt like basically every part of it dragged on longer than it needed to. And another big thing that made that direct give off that feeling was the fact we didn't really learn much new. Compare that to DK Bananza, and it felt like I was learning so much I didn't already know in that short amount of time, and it looked vastly more interesting than the MK Direct. And I think part of that was because of the direct narrator. I didn't initially mean to give the MK World Direct this much grief, and not to be rude to the narrator of that direct, but I listened to that direct again for 30 seconds just to make sure I wasn't crazy, and oh my goodness, his inflection just comes off feeling so forced to sound excited, in contrast to the Bananza direct narrator, who comes off as a lot more genuine in their narration, if that makes sense. Now talking about specific elements of the direct, I think this direct made me way more high on the gameplay than the initial trailer. Not to say I thought the game was going to be bad or boring, but I came away from the bits I had seen initially slightly concerned that the gameplay loop of the main game and the smash and bash everything around you style might just not have a ton of depth to it. But the direct showed so much about things you can do to add to that gameplay, instead of it just being see thing and break it, which in hindsight was dumb to judge based off of just a few minutes of gameplay. I'm pretty sure this is made by at least a group of the team behind Odyssey, and I thought that game was absolutely spectacular, so knowing that now, I definitely trust them to make this game a fun experience to just romp around with as well. Getting into the Bananza transformation forms, and it might be weird for me to say that at least gameplay wise, this was probably the weakest part of the direct for me. Not because it was bad, but because not only were the other parts of the direct really good, but because I hesitate to say in practice that seemingly the game's main gimmick is going to add a ton, at least in the main world. I think when it comes to the side stuff though, that's where the idea behind these transformations are really going to shine. Like for example, the challenge where you had the Calm Bananza transformation form, and you just had to wreck everything in sight. Which is weird since I was concerned about the game initially because I thought that might be what the main gameplay loop would be like. But moving on from that, we get into the reveal of Voidco, the main villains of the game, and now it's time for me to inhale the copium, as some may say, but I think these guys are fake out main villains. I do honestly believe there's a possibility that K-Rool could be some sort of higher up for Voidco, and he'll be the true final boss. Just my brief 2 cents on that idea. I kinda elaborated on the challenge courses earlier, but again, these are where I think the transformation forms are really gonna shine, and that section just came off as a massive leveler to the entire history of the Donkey Kong IP. From the girders from the original game, to the 2D side-scrolling and the bramble background levels of Donkey Kong Country, but also with some new stuff thrown in, such as what might be a stealth mission, or just dodge a bunch of enemies trying to snipe you that will lock onto you when you get in their line of sight. Moving on to a lightning round of things that my thoughts on them can be given in a short sentence or two. Skill points in the clothing are cool, it can help players who are stuck with finding certain objects progress, but if more experienced gamers find these make the game too easy, they'll seemingly have the freedom to do away with these buffs to suit their preference and difficulty. Speaking on that, yeah, I think a hard mode along with assist mode would have been cool, but I'm not losing sleep on not existing, or the existence of an assist mode. I truly cannot be bothered to care about it. It is such a non-issue to be quite frank, at least not in this circumstance, since it's not like NSMBU Deluxe where someone is forced to play the easier option if you want to have 4 players. Of course, this game received its obligatory photo mode, and not its obligatory sound test, which come on Mario Kart World, how do you not have that right now? The co-op seems kinda whatever, will probably be fun with someone who's less experienced in games, but not the greatest for 2 gamers who want to screw around playing a game together. Do like that they're trying to think of a way to incorporate the mouse controls into the main gameplay though. Also cool that you can game share it to a Switch one, though only locally. DK Artist, again, I don't have much to say about other than it's cool and I like the feature, and insert joke here about people drawing not so family friendly things with it. The DK and Pauline amiibo looks great, and I like that they're still trying to do things with amiibo rather than just letting them raw in people's collections. But lastly, let me talk about the two things from the Direct that stole the show for me, the first of which being the music. If there's one thing I can be entirely positive about when it comes to the Switch 2 era thus far, is that the music for these games is going so hard, and this Direct was no different. I honestly think the sound in the background made me so much more hyped during that segment about the transformations. It was that good. Connected to the music, the absolute highlight for me of this Direct was just how involved Pauline is seemingly going to be with this game, and the dynamic between her and DK. War issues aside, the dynamic between those two was so unbelievably wholesome, I just couldn't help but smile when seeing them on screen. I saw a ton of people saying it was like Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope on Schweetz' dynamic, and yeah, that checks out. But then we get to the ending, where they just decided to go full Disney trailer on us, and that part was just amazing. Take notes, Nintendo, these are the good parts of Disney to resemble, not the one behind the Lilo and Stitch live-action remake and locking stuff behind limited time releases. Seeing that ending just gave me flashbacks to when I was a 12-year-old kid, watching the Switch presentation, seeing Mario Odyssey for the first time, and that's why I think made me so happy watching this Direct. It was the first thing I've seen in the Switch 2 era that brought out this childhood-like joy and whimsy when I walked away from it. It didn't have any real monkey's paw that we didn't know about, it was just a game showcase that oozed passion and soul. Is this glaze? Yes, but in my opinion, it truly deserves it. This Direct flat out sold me on this game. Heck, I think I might be more excited for this now than when I get my hands on Mario Kart World. I genuinely think the Direct for Bananza was that good. But with that out of the way, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the Bananza Direct down in the comments, and I hope you have a great day.